Let's start off with a moment of silence followed by a serenity prayer. God, grant me serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We're going to light the candle in memory of Roger right now. Thank you. And Carrie put a key on that candle to represent keys to the kingdom. As you know, we're here to honor and celebrate the life of Roger Diaz. Roger was born February 21st of 1939, and he passed on April 18th of 2023. His sobriety date was February 25th of 1939. Is that correct? Yeah. So he had 90 years of sobriety. He recently celebrated 60 years of sobriety, let's put it that way. So he had 60 years of sobriety. He graduated from the Wharton School of Business. If you didn't know that, he was, of course, a successful restaurateur and businessman, loving father, husband, friend, active in the program, active sponsor up until the day he passed. And we sure love and miss him. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. We're going to try to keep this within about an hour so we get as many people in to share as possible. And to start the list, we're going to call it Mr. Jim Willis, who was friends with Roger for over 60 years.
My name is Jim, and I am an alcoholic. My sobriety date is February the 6th, 1957. Roger, I had about 5.5 years in the program when Roger got here, and his sponsor was a very good friend of mine. And over the years, started off with Roger being just an acquaintance, and then he became a friend and a very good friend. And I'm really feeling sad. I had some things I'd like to tell you all about Roger, but I don't want to try to be funny. I don't feel funny, you know. So the thing is that he was a lot more active in this program than most people knew, because as far as the program was concerned, he was very humble. He was on the board here at the club a couple of times. He used to hold regular discussion meetings here. He's been getting the meetings together for Sunday morning for a very long time. So he was very active. And the thing is, I'm going to miss him a lot, and that's enough for me.
All right, and now we'd like to call it Sam K.
Thank you, Brett. My name's Sam. I'm an alcoholic. I was also a friend of Roger's. Roger was my sponsor. I hadn't had a drink or put anything stronger than Tylenol in my system since October the 16th, 1989. I left the Bexar County Jail the day before that and walked through that door, and the first man I met was Bill Thomas. He's here tonight. But about the next person I met, I think it might have been Roger Diaz. I know it was soon after. And they were talking about sponsors, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I said, "Would you be my sponsor?" And I remember Roger said yes. Everybody loved Roger. I had never met anybody that had a disparaging word about Roger Diaz. I was a joke when I came through those doors. I still had a felony hanging over my head, and I had already been judged guilty of aggravated possession of methamphetamine. Now, I'm a real alcoholic. I started with whiskey and I ended with whiskey, but I put a lot of other stuff in my system. And so they were waiting for the sentencing hearing. I'd already been judged guilty. That was my fourth felony. And why they didn't call me in sooner, I don't know. But I had almost a year of sobriety, and I was out riding my bicycle one one day out in Bull Verde. Unmarked patrol car, a sheriff's deputy pulled me over. And they brought me in and threw me in jail without any bond. And I was waiting to go to prison. And there was one more hearing, and it was a sentencing hearing. It was in the hanging judge's court. It was in Judge Susan Reed's court. Madonna knew Susan Reed. I think Madonna worked around her at one time. But the long story and the short of it is that a bunch of people from Club 12 came in and testified for me. Peter testified for me. Kathleen testified for me. And Steve, and then came Roger. And I remember Judge Reed asking him, said, what are your qualifications? And he said, I own the Fiesta Patio Mexican restaurant. She said, oh, you do? And he said, yes. And she said, well, what prompted you to come down here and testify as a character witness for this guy? And Roger said, because I believe he's going to stay sober. And she said, what do you base that on? And Roger said, I have faith in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he said, I've been around this guy now for a few months. And in my opinion, he's going to stay sober. I wound up getting put back on the streets with a 10-year probation. And Roger was one of the first people that ever believed in me. And he told that judge, that's why I'm here. And I really had a powerful effect on her. She was the hardest judge in the whole system. And there's never been a rougher one than her. But so Roger became my sponsor and he became my friend. And for the first 2 years of my sobriety, he and his wife Pat literally fed me at their restaurant up there. And I was still getting meal tickets from Roger. I think I still got one at home. He would leave them right here at Club 12 every year. Every year he picked the speakers at Club 12, and every year since 89 he had me speak. So I'm going to miss it, and I'm going to miss Roger terribly. I didn't know how important Roger was until he was gone. That's the way this deal is, And he had an awful lot of interest in the afterlife. He talked about it all the time. Well, he's there now, and I run out of words. I think it's time for me to shut up. I almost said something else. Cleaned up my act a little bit. Thank you much. It's an honor to be able to talk at Rogers. Farewell. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. This time I'd like to call it John C.
My name is John Casey. I'm an addict alcoholic. I'm really honored to be up here today to say a few things about my friend Roger. I love Roger Diaz. And we've been good friends. I met him when I first came in 50 years ago. Roger had about 5 years in. And Roger had got his master's degree in psychology from Trinity University. And I think he was looking for somebody to practice it on. and I was certainly needed it. And he had, in his garage there, he had walled it off and made a little room and had a couch and a desk and all that. And so I would go over and talk to him. And I probably took my first fifth step before I even took the other steps, just talking to Roger. And he was so, so understanding. I love Roger. And so I think that's one of the, I'm not a big book thumper, and I can't remember a lot of what I read, but I think somewhere in the big book it makes a promise that we're making lifelong friends. And I certainly did, Roger and my friend Jim Willis. I've made many lifelong friends, and Club 12 was, when I got out of Starlight, I think Club 12 was the first place I came to. And we even had probably the first young people's group in San Antonio. You know, people come to meetings and say all of these old gray-headed white men are not necessarily that my friend over here is gray-headed too, but you know, we were young once. A long time ago, but we were young once. And I've given my life to doing the program. My sponsor, Jim Willis, talks a lot about enlightened self-interest. And I do the program because it's good for me, not because my sponsor tells me to, or not because I want to look holy to people, but out of enlightened self-interest. I'll do the steps. I'll do the 10th step. I'll apologize if I do something wrong. And Roger helped teach me that too. We go to this one meeting together, and then we always come to Sundays together. And on Wednesday, we've been going out to this restaurant to eat, the other really nice restaurant on Pat Booker. And just one of the funny things, and I started to put my hat on backwards. We went in there, and it's a really nice restaurant and everything, and this waiter walked past with his hat on backwards, and that irritated Roger. And he kept saying, "Look at that guy, he's wearing tennis shoes, and he's got his hat on backwards." Anyways, and so later on, he told Pat about it, and she told him, "Just mind your own business." He's a really good waiter and everything. Now, it just so happened maybe 2 or 3 weeks later we went, and he wasn't wearing a hat. So Roger was funny about little things like that. And, you know, anybody who knows him can tell you a million stories, but I just want to say that I love him. I'll certainly miss him. Roger was a good part of my life, and I'm so honored to be here tonight.
Thanks. All right, Connie S.
Hi, y'all, I'm Connie, and thank y'all for being here. It's so beautiful, the decorations and everything that everybody put together, and just so nicely done. And I want to thank Suzanne for asking me to, she just said, "I hope you say a few words." And so I kind of said, okay. And so I'm going to just tell you how I met Roger. I met Roger in 2009, and I met him in the Unity Room right over here. It was a 12 and 12, 9:30 meeting. And I remember that he always sat in the same spot. He always saved a place for Jim, and he always shared at the meeting. And he would be either like the first or second to share, and he'd always end with, "And I'd like to hear from my good friend, Jim W." So he always did that. I always liked that. And what I always liked too is that he'd always mention his wife, Pat, whenever he shared, and you could just tell how much he loved his wife. He always spoke so highly about Pat. And so in that, he taught me to speak nicely, or try to speak nicely about my husband. So, you know, when I first met Roger, he asked me what my name was, and I told him my name was Connie. And he said, "Is that short for something?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, my name is Consuelo." And he said, "Consuelito, I love that name." And he would say, "Do you know who Consuelo Velasquez is?" No, I don't. But ever since then, every time I would see him, and just like this picture that you see on here is perfect, because every time I would see him, he'd say, "Consuelito," or he'd say, "Consuelo Velasquez." And just so you know, Consuelo Velasquez is she's a Mexican pianist and composer, and she actually created Bésame Mucho. So, and he recently told me that. He said, "You know, after all of these years, I didn't even know that she's the creator of that song." And so I would say he probably told me just a few months ago. So I'm still learning things. And I wanted to talk about what Roger has showed me. And he showed me to be giving. because he was actually very giving. He for all of Jim's AA birthdays, he always brought enchiladas from his restaurant. And sometimes the salsa and the chips and stuff, but you could always count on him for bringing the enchiladas. And he always gave me a birthday card, made me feel so special, an AA birthday card and a belly button birthday card. And in the card would be a little coupon for his restaurant. And then sometimes he'd give me different things like a book and everything. And you know what else he would do? He would always give me magazines. So every time we'd go to a meeting at Jim's, you'd have a little like stack of 4 or 5 magazines. And sometimes they'd be like from the 90s. Even, he'd be giving away his magazines. So, and he always took care of the Sunday speaker meetings. He did that for many years. And birthday night, he was a big part of that. And I'm so grateful that he showed me that. Because I love birthday night. I really do feel like it's the hidden jewel of San Antonio. It's always very interesting. And the great thing is that, it ends with cake. And I like cake. So, and he taught me how to chair a big meeting like this. It's intimidating being up here. And being a chair for speakers and stuff, for the speaker meeting on Sundays. So he helped me overcome that. So Roger has been a great friend. And he was always very loyal, and he was very honest and without filters sometimes. But I love that about him. And Jeff reminded me. I was on my way out the door, and my husband reminded me. He goes, do you remember when we used to go to the 12 and 12? Roger would say, "Y'all are gonna make it," and I didn't remember that. And yeah, he did. That was really nice of him because there was. I was in and out of the program for several months, so I didn't think I was going to make it. So it's nice to hear that. But Roger, you will be missed. And I want to thank you for all your years of service at Club 12. Thank you.
All right, Lenny T.
I'm Lenny. I'm an alcoholic. I asked Suzanne, I wanted to share a couple of things. And next thing I know, I'm on this list. I'm honored because I looked at all the people coming in. And I've been sober for 39 going on 40 now. And since May 1st, 1984. When I came into recovery, my first job, I got a job in the construction industry, but prior to that, I've been in the music and entertainment industry. And my first sponsor said, "You're going to have to wait 10 years to get 10 years of sobriety before you can get back in that industry." And ironically, or the way God works, my father passed away in 94, which is roughly 10 years. And I remember I'd always seen Roger. I'd been around, here. I came to the club 38 years ago. And but when he passed away, I went and talked to Roger. Because, I came in my recovery with toilet paper because I was so happy to be clean and sober. And now I feel the same way. I saw Roger every week, and not as a sponsor, as a friend, but more than a friend. He was like my father. So when when my dad died, 10 years later, I went to him. I said, "Okay, I want to start this business that I've had a dream about for 10 years." And I share this with the men that I work with, men and women that I've worked with over the years. And I told him, I said, I want to start this business. He said to me, he said, Lenny, you know, I'll give you the secret of being a millionaire. He said, you find a niche and then you learn how to fill that niche. You find a niche in life and then you figure out how to fill that niche. He said, told me that. And I said, you know, I've got a niche. What back then I had this idea. I said, but I'm scared to quit my job. You know, quit this. I've been in construction now 10 years and I was pretty good at it. And he said, hey, go after that dream. If it doesn't work out, you haven't lost everything that you've learned in the last 10 years. You can always go back to it. And, it didn't even dawn on me. And I tell newcomers that coming in, that, you can pursue your dream. If it doesn't work out, the people in these rooms aren't going to kick you out of here or say you're a failure or say you're a loser. That's what I had going in my mind. And he said, when he told me that day, I said, you're right. And I pursued that dream also. And I've been fortunate over the last 28 years now for that and even the construction business. My whole life changed that day when he gave me the freedom to pursue that dream. And I tell people, don't be kicking yourself in the butt the rest of your life saying, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd tried this. Do it. Do it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't. And I've had a lot of stuff that's not worked out in the last 28 years, but I come back in and try something new. That business is still going, along with a couple others. And, I'm having the greatest time of my life. That's all because he shared that encouragement. And over the years, and a lot of you know, I've always seen Roger on Sundays when he was coming actively. I've always in group conscious sat next to him, going over his meeting schedule, the speakers, and he would call me if he couldn't make it, so I could give the report, and or if he forgot, lately in the last year he had forgotten. Oh, I don't have some speakers here. Can you help me find some speakers? I'm all missing. We had a father-son. I always look at that. I'm blessed because he changed my life 28 years ago. Sitting right over there. And so for people that are new that want to pursue their dream, do it. Pursue it. It may work out. It may not, but that's okay. That's what he said. That's okay. He would ask me, how's it going? How's that going? And I'd tell him, well, this is going good. That's all I wanted to really share. Just pursue the dream. And you hear that from the people that have been here for man, y'all are old timers too. Shit, I look at this room here. I'm 76. I'm a youngster. But, what a beautiful world we live in. Thank you.
All right, that's everybody off the list that we had beforehand. Is there anybody who'd like to come up and say a few words about Roger? Okay, come on, Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie. And when I walked in here in 1989, 1988, there was a little back room way back there where every time you open that door, it all filled with cigarette smoke, just piling out and stuff. But, I didn't stay sober, even though I'd walk around the club and came through. But in 1992, 93, that's when I sobered up. And when I came through again, this time I had those 5-inch black stiletto heels, a little black mini skirt, a little red tank top with that red Fragrance of Hollywood bra on, and the biggest eyelashes you could ever see with big blue deep eyelashes. My hair was teased up like Tommy Wynette's, and I would skid across that floor, and I remember Mae Wasley saying, "I'm never going to sponsor that." And poor Roger, he was in that room, and I don't know how it came about, but I was very sick, and I would always rub on Roger's shoulders, and he would always mention, "I've got a wife." But somehow I didn't hear that. And every time I'd get a birthday, 1 year had passed and my hair would come down, it wasn't teased up, and slowly the makeup would come on. And I'd get one of those little deals to his restaurant. And he'd say, "You need to start coming to the workshops that Jim has up at the office." I said, "Well, okay. And are you going?" "Oh, yeah, I'll be there." So I'd go, and I'd follow him up there, and we'd have such a good time at the workshops, and we'd share about our inspiration, what Jim was teaching us. And, I did that for about 25 years, going to those workshops and going to Sermon on the Mount and sitting there across from Roger. And I love what Connie said. He'd always have those magazines there to give us. And, and he would always talk about Pat or talk about his son. And then we'd talk about the afterlife. And I can just see him there saying, "Oh, my God, it's nothing like we expected of him." And I just keep picturing that because he would always talk about the afterlife and what we were going to go through in that light when you go through. And so I'm excited to celebrate his memory and his encouragement of staying active in the program. And one last thing, I just loved when he came to group conscience. We would just have so many rattles in there. And he'd make me read the service manual so I'd be equipped, and then my little GSR, and he'd just get me fired up. And then we'd try to bring that stuff into Jim's office, and he wouldn't have it. He just, and we weren't going to bring that mess in there. We're going to talk about God. But I will truly miss him. I just love him from my heart and my soul. He was such an inspiration, even though I was a very sick woman and didn't want a thing from him. He still treated me like a lady. When I wasn't acting like a lady, he would treat me like a lady. And he showed me how to become a lady by sharing his greatest gift, which was Jim W. So thank you very much.
My name is Shane. I'm a grateful alcoholic. So a few things came to mind. First was Roger's smile. He would light up a room. And also that I could rely on always seeing him and active in the program, especially on Sundays. He was like a fixed position in this club, especially with service. But something that came was I had a period of sobriety, and then I went back out and hit a really low bottom. And when I came back, I had accumulated about a year, and I was just trying to make my way into the club for a meeting Sunday, and Roger beelined through and confronted me, actually. I was like, hey, you need to speak. You need to be a speaker. Will you share your story? And I was like, oh, wow. And of course, I felt immediately so honored, but I humbly declined. And he was like, Shane, you need to share your story. You can help somebody. It's not about you. And in turn, I ended up sharing at a little over a year, and I'll never forget how much that helped me. He didn't let me say no. And that's what he did. And then a funny thing happened. It was one of my fondest memories of Roger. Was just last year. He had me chair hosting the month of February, which was a beautiful gift because it's like Bill Thomas and Jim and the birthday celebrants in that month. And well, I had made an honest mistake, and there was a scheduling conflict. And I don't know if you guys know Roger. He's very methodical, and he's very organized, and he wants things a certain way. And my Al-Anon speaker and my AA speaker had a scheduling conflict, so I had to switch weeks. And the Al-Anon wasn't going to be on the third week. And I didn't know this was a deal, but I had come to the club that week, and Roger was just like, and I was like, what's going on with Roger? So I come up to him, and I was like, hey, Roger. And he was like, it was the cutest thing watching him, this alcoholic pal. But the good news was he worked such a great program. And and the next week I'd come back, and it was back to the love and the hugs and being embraced. But it was the funniest thing, and I couldn't take it seriously when I had done it because I knew that it was an honest mistake. Like I had just gotten the speakers backwards, and I didn't know that we had it continually scheduled. But since then we grew closer, and one of the biggest gifts I got was the Sunday before he passed. He pulled me aside, he beelined it towards me again. Of course, I didn't know that he was about to join our Creator, but he'd gone out of his way to tell me so many loving things about myself and what the newcomers meeting had become. And it was just very unexpected. And then fast forward, and so it's a very special experience, and that kind of stuff we can only hope to live up to in service to this program, to this club. So thank you.
Thanks, Shane. It's obvious that Roger was loved. He was a great example of this program and the promises that are given to us as a result of working this program. They're not maybes, they're promises. And this is his legacy, love, and he'll be in this club, in this building, in our hearts for as long as we're around. And I was thinking the last words Roger said to me standing right here was, Brad, we need to get you to share at the club, Sunday meeting coming up. And then, so he passed, and one of my first thoughts was, I don't think anybody else heard him say that. and so the other day, Jim Walsh texted me, and he said, God told me that I need to ask you to speak in a month coming up, whatever. And I said, I don't think that was God. Roger's still trying to take care of that Sunday meeting. But anyway.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught
Praise my fear, relief. How precious is that grace appear. The hour I first came. Amazing grace, amazing grace, amazing grace. Save a wretch like me. Many toils, dangers, and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace that taught me safe this far, and grace will lead me home. Amazing grace, amazing grace, amazing grace. Saved a wretch like me. The Lord has promised good to me. Where my hope secure, He will my shield and portion, as long as life is good. Amazing grace, amazing grace, amazing grace. Saved a wretch like me. When we've been there 2,000 years, like shining light, the sun, we know for days, then we can pray. The hour is just become. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.